people, stay dandy, baby. Big things are going on in the latest episode of Yashahime as Towa, Setsuna, and Moroha have their first major confrontation with Beast King Kirinmaru, and it's incredibly anticlimactic. This is kind of a disappointing episode for me, not just from a storytelling standpoint, but also from a production value standpoint. I mean, there's been this weird sort of steady decline with Yashahime over the course of the last couple of episodes, and it's probably having to do with the fact that the creators are sort of coming up with this story with every single episode. What I'm saying is basically they're making it up as they go along, and you can definitely kind of feel that in this episode, as the overall current storyline seems kind of lost, muddled, and confused. And this was an important episode. Not only do our three main heroines manage to take down another member of the Four Perils, but they come face to face with Kirinmaru, who is effectively the next major villain of the franchise and the biggest villain of this season right here. And you expect that coming face to face with him would have a lot more weight behind it, but not really. It's not all that impressive. And that's always been my biggest fear about Kirinmaru, is the fact that he would never live up to the hype of the classic villains that we had from Inuyasha. Not just talking about Minaraku, but a lot of the other adversaries that Inuyasha and his friends went up against were significantly more terrifying and intimidating than Kirinmaru, who for the most part is basically just a guy with a weird bone mask and a sword. There's not much more to his character or his overall motivation outside of the fact that he wants to kill these half-demon girls because supposedly due to some weird convoluted prophecy, they're going to be the ones that's going to be taking off his giant red-haired face. But still, this entire episode still did have some pretty good things, and we are moving forward as we get closer to the big finale of the series, but still, I just feel like this episode should just have a lot more going for it, because it's not even just the confrontation with Kirinmaru, the defeat of one of the Four Perils, it's the fact that Towa and Setsuna are finally reunited with Sesshomaru, and there's practically no emotion from any of it. You know, I expected that from Sesshomaru's side, as he's kind of a cold, callous, and kind of cool kind of character. Even in the face of something that is extremely emotional, he's gonna play it real cool because that's the type of guy that Sesshomaru is. But when Towa and Setsuna see Sesshomaru in this episode, they're just like, "That's our dad!" And that's basically it. Like, they don't react any other way. They're not even all that shocked or crazy. They don't go out of their way to try and communicate with him. Basically, Sesshomaru just shows up to have a okay fight with Kirinmaru, but most of this episode was just that, fighting. A lot of simple fighting, too. Like, we even get to conclude that one storyline with Kontone, who was trying to trap all of them in that, like, weird, mysterious world. That doesn't work. Towa and Setsuna manage to get in there. He summons some sort of giant blue ogre monster, which transforms into an even bigger, weird demonic monster, which they just absolutely fillet its ass. And then they just end up taking Kontone out, like, in one random attack. Like, he's just standing there, he gets hit with this big attack, and then boom, he's just suddenly been decapitated. His blue pearl is taken away by Riku, which I believe was originally his pearl in the first place. The fact of the matter is, Kontone's gone, and there's not really much more to his character. And that's disappointing, because of the Four Perils, he was easily the most interesting. He seemed like he was going to be the one that was going to last the longest, and he was clearly the most smartest. The last one remaining is the dumbest one. It's Totetsu, the big, dumb, loud monster that constantly always just manages to escape on his big, dumb, black flying Nimbus. You would think they would have taken out this character, like, a lot earlier. You'd seem like he would be, like, maybe one of the first members of the Four Perils, but no, he manages to survive. And after Kontone is defeated, they follow him to the ocean, which is where Kirinmaru meets up with him. And Kirinmaru, who should have been super pissed off at the fact that Totetsu not only ran away from these people, but led them directly to him, just lets him go. Just out of nowhere. He just runs away and he's never seen again. And then Kirinmaru fights against Moroha, Towa, and Setsuna, and basically just makes them look like fools. Of course, he's a demon on a completely different level. Like, they just don't even come close to his abilities, but he doesn't have to use anything special, just his overall strength, speed, and his sword, and basically he just wrecks their world. Moroha even uses the power of the Rouge, despite the fact that a couple episodes ago they made it clear that she should stop using this. She still manages to use it anyway. Guess what? Doesn't do shit. She ends up getting her ass completely smacked by Kirinmaru, and she immediately basically gets knocked out. Towa is the most interesting thing about this battle because she actually does manage to slightly hit Kirinmaru. At least that's the way it looks in terms of the animation. It looks like she manages to get one minor hit on him, but before anything else can come of this, she's defeated, Setsuna's defeated, and then Sesshomaru comes in to immediately add so much more life to this episode. And I have to admit, his confrontation with Kirinmaru as they're fighting in the middle of this ocean with waves crashing around them is kind of cool, but it doesn't really go anywhere. Essentially, he's basically here to save his daughters, not interact with him at all, and he just leaves, with Kirinmaru saying, hey, remember, we had a deal, we gotta help out each other, we got a big plan, see you next week, brah. And then he just flies off, and that's kind of the end of the episode, with all three girls licking their wounds and preparing for the next episode of the series, and of course for their next major confrontation with Kirinmaru, which may go somewhere, it may not, we'll just have to see. So what's the rundown on this episode of Yashahime? This one was completely saved by the appearance of Sesshomaru and Jokin, mostly because they gave me a massive sense of nostalgia while I was watching the episode. I just wanted so much more from these characters. I wanted them to interact with, Towa and Setsuna and Moroha, in particular Sesshomaru. I wanted him to have some sort of moment with his daughters, but it's clear that they're going to be saving this for something a little bit later. What's really egregious about this episode, though, is how anticlimactic it is. It's the word that I used at the beginning of the review, but that's just the way that it feels. That combined with the production value of this episode just made this one downright boring, and I hate saying that it's boring because I've really loved a lot of the earlier parts of Yashahime. There was so much more to the series in terms of what they were doing and what they were developing, but it seems like we have just been on autopilot for the last couple of episodes, and it seems like we're getting practically nowhere. It seems like ever since Cone Tone came into the series, things have just slowed down. The brakes have officially been pumped to their absolute limit, and here we are at the current storyline, which is now getting swept under the rug as we move to the next episode of the series, which looks like it's even going to be kind of fillery. Is that necessary in a series that's only going to be, I believe, 24 episodes long, and considering we're getting this much closer to the big finale of the show, it's just disappointing in that sense. And the production value, man, some of the fight scenes in this episode just look like garbage. It sucks to see that because it just isn't exciting to look at. The actual battle on the beach, the overall backdrop, this is something that could have looked really cool and atmospheric. As it was, it felt very static and boring, and just the way that the characters move, again, is just meh. It just doesn't feel like it has a lot of power behind it. And I know that the series is capable of doing some competent action scenes. I saw a lot of them at the beginning of the show. There are some moments in the series that do actually look really good, but you're not really going to see a lot of them in this episode. There are a lot of cut corners in this one, and it really does manage to bring this episode down. It also does not instill a lot of hope for the character of Kirinmaru, as they've been building him up as kind of like this next big major villain for the series, and he is no Naraku. Let's just go ahead and say that. And I still can't believe that Sesshomaru is even deciding to work along with this guy. You'd think he would just kill him outright. It leads me to believe that Kirinmaru is very responsible for everything that's going on with Rin. He does make it clear that he's responsible for the whole dream butterfly thing. If he gets killed, then everything's going to be fine. So he's clearly connected to that, and that's the reason why Sesshomaru doesn't just decapitate him right then and there. I mean, go back to the original series. Naraku even looked at Sesshomaru weird. He was going to immediately go on the kill and try and take that guy out. You can very much see that Sesshomaru is very reserved in the things that he does around Kirinmaru at this point, because he realizes that if he does something wrong, it could result in the death of Rin. Rin is essentially Kirinmaru's shield from keeping Sesshomaru from just decapitating his stupid ass. That's basically what's going on here. At least that's what I'm getting. And then, of course, there's Riku, the mysterious washed-ashore pirate. I don't know what his deal is outside of the fact that he wants all those rainbow pearls. What his connection to Kirinmaru might still be kind of mysterious. They don't want to reveal it quite yet. And that's basically the episode, baby! Really, this one for me was just painfully average. I still liked some elements of it, but there are a lot of disappointing things about this episode, I have to be perfectly honest. By the time I was done watching it, I just felt kind of bored. It just didn't really blow me away the way that I was hoping it would, and I'm really hoping they're going to rectify that when we get to the final big confrontations of the episode, where we finally get to the big final storyline with Kirinmaru, maybe building upon Zero a little bit more. They already said a couple episodes ago with Sesshomaru mentioning that she's the one who created those rainbow pearls. They confirm it yet again in this episode, but it still has no weight behind it because we know nothing about it. We have the information, we just don't have the substance behind it to make it feel more important. Maybe that's going to come later down the line. As it is, this episode just didn't do it for me. There were still some things I did like about it, but otherwise, just kind of meh. I'm giving this episode a 2 out of 5, and I really hate to do that. As a fan of the franchise and someone who wants to see a really bright future for this spin-off sequel of Inuyasha, it's just not wowing me the way it did in the beginning of the series, and it's going to take these last couple of episodes to sort of win me back and get me excited about the finale. As it is right now, it's just kind of okay. I'm in it for the long run, though. I'm watching the series to completion, so I can't wait to see what it's going to be all about. But there it is. That's my thoughts on the episode. But I'd love to get yours, and you can sound off in the comment section below telling me what you thought about the latest episode of Yashahime. Did you not like it like I did? Maybe you loved the episode. The big confrontation with Kirinmaru, the big reunion with Sesshomaru, Jockin showing up to do what Jockin does best, and of course what you hope to see from the future of Yashahime in the finale of this first major storyline. Sound off, comment section below. Thank you guys so much for watching this review. Please subscribe to the channel for more videos just like this one. If you liked the video, consider subscribing to the channel. Hitting that like button helps out these videos a lot. And I want to take this time to thank all of my patrons. You guys are freaking incredible making those monthly donations. Can't thank you enough for that. Remember, first-time donators, I'll review an anime series of your choice, as well as adding your name to this list of credits. You guys are the producers of Ace Guru. So thank you guys so much for watching this review. I'll see you all next time, and as always, stay dandy, baby.